The Tigers headed to the capital of New York State, and they made a mess of the capital. The Tiger Football Report starts next.
For an athlete, there's nothing scarier than a torn ACL.
Athletes trust us with their care and their careers because we're a recognized leader in sports medicine.
Get back to your active life sooner with MedStar Sports Medicine.
Wise Market's ice cream plant is based in Sunbury, Pennsylvania, and it's locally owned and operated. We've been making our ice cream for nearly 50 years. We create roughly 70 flavors of ice cream right now. We use local ingredients, especially our cream, which is from our milk plant. The cream is what gives our ice cream a rich and creamy texture. Now, together with our customers, we've created a product called Peanut Butter Indulgence, which will be coming out this summer. It's a peanut butter ice cream with sea salt caramel swirl, chocolate-covered pretzel. How could you go wrong with that? Personally, I love our ice cream. If you come to our house at any given time, you'll find at least 5 packets of ice cream in our freezer. Our kids grew up eating Wise quality ice cream, and now we get to treat our grandchildren to it. It's been a pleasure for me to be tasting ice cream for over 40 years for Wise Markets, and I'm loving every minute of it.
Welcome to another edition of the Tiger Football Report. I'm your host, Spiro Morekas, along with the head coach of the Tigers, Rob Ambrose. By the way, the head coach of now a top 10 Towson football team, the 10th ranked Tigers this week, who went up to Albany to take on the Great Danes, and the Great Danes went home whimpering as the Tigers win by a score of 56-28. But Coach, early on in that game, you were moving the ball almost at will, but the points weren't coming up. You missed a field goal. You get first and goal at the 5. Tom Flacco throws an interception. So I'm sure you were concerned that even though you were having a lot of success moving the ball, you didn't have a lot to show for it.
A little bit. One does tend to lead to the other on the regular. And small mistakes, a little bit getting greedy. You know, it's 2 games in a row. Tom's got a little greedy in the red zone. Instead of making the right read, he made the I want a touchdown read. So we're hoping to fix that a little bit. And when you're moving the ball like we were, you realize that don't freak out. Everything's going to be fine. We just need to finish drives, get in the red zone, don't get any penalties, which we did a couple times, and just do what we do, and it'll play out the way it should.
You scored 38 points in the first half, led 38-21. You also had 380 yards of offense in that first half, which is phenomenal. But early on, Tom Flacco missed a couple of passes, and Gordy and I were talking in the booth. It was very windy out, and you guys had the wind at your back. Is it possible, because he was overthrowing guys, is it possible the wind maybe was affecting his passing a little bit?
It was more of the footwork. He had short-stepped a couple throws, and anytime it's a natural delivery, you're a golf guy, so it was, muscle memory and all that stuff. When the balls are low, that's usually overstriding. You step too far than your normal, so the ball goes into the ground. When they go high, short step or short stride, and your release point ends up being higher and the balls go higher. Had to get him settled down a little bit, and once he did, he got back to his normal self.
Well, settled down enough that he won the CAA Offensive Player of the Week again. But the Tigers winning this one 56-28. Defensively, you played well but gave up some big plays. That has to concern you a little bit.
It does. It really, really does. No, the strong running game, great running back, decent offensive line, great scheme on their part. We knew we had to be able to stop the run to be able to win the game. They did some good stuff with us, and to be honest, they caught us with very bad eyes and bad discipline. And 4 plays responsible for about 170 yards of offense. And if you take those plays away, boy, this looks like a really modern-day shellacking. But give their staff and their kids a lot of credit. They responded. Something that we need to work on. Guys taking it for granted a little bit instead of dialing it in. And after we got back from halftime, I'd say things progressed quite well.
Yeah, you only gave up 7 points in the second half, and that was on a late drive when substitutes were in on both sides of the ball. The other thing that we didn't talk about, that more points that came off the board, was Shane Simpson with a punt return for a touchdown, but was called back because of a holding penalty. But that's got to make opponents nervous when they look at the game film and, he's already returned a kickoff for a touchdown, now a punt for a touchdown even though it was called back. He's a dynamic player.
He really is. He's healthy. But when he was younger, you could see his return ability. Like Shane in space is a pretty powerful player. And he can make you miss and he can run by you. He's got really, really great vision. And it's cool because he was good in camp. It was good to see him play in camp, good to see him play healthy in camp in any particular position, wide out, running back, returner, it didn't really matter. But he has gotten progressively better week after week after week, where we've taken a good returner and we're starting to enter the land of great. And from the head coach's perspective, when you see that from an opposing player, you tend to get scared. Like you don't know what you're going to have to kick the ball. And are you really not going to kick it to him? And what consequence are you going to gain or lose because you're not kicking to him? You're going to give up field position, kick the ball out of bounds, kick it away from him. But the way we've got it set up a little bit, that kind of hurts you. So it's good for us. Anytime we've got a really special return guy, it's really good for us, and it puts the other team on their heels.
Last week, you also talked about how in October it's tough for teams that are winning when they see a team that's coming up that maybe doesn't have a gaudy record or anything like that. And against William and Mary, you thought the team was maybe a little sluggish, and you had to work on that this week. Obviously, whatever you did worked out well.
Somebody in the press conference yesterday said that your guys look like they were playing like the season was on the line for all 4 quarters. And I looked at him and said, that's very astute of you. Good job. That's exactly what's happening. We're not Ohio State. We're not JMU. We're not North Dakota State. We can't afford to slip up. There's a historical bias against us. There's a reason why we haven't gotten into the playoffs no matter how good we were at times when we were good enough to get in. And that's the whole leave no doubt mentality. That's not a coach speak type thing. We have to beat people in a way that leaves no doubt that we are deserving of the respect that we have earned and that we want to keep playing. We want a shot at the league title, and we want a shot at the whole thing. And so we're playing for our entire season, every single snap.
Tigers are exactly midway through the CAA season. They are 4-0, the only undefeated team left in the conference. But as Coach Ambrose said to me before we started the show, that and a cup of coffee gets you just a cup of coffee. That's it, nothing else.
50 cents in a cup of coffee.
Now, don't think it's going to be tough to get the guys up for next week's game. Tune in later on this week when we will discuss the Tigers matchup with the number 21 Blue Hens from the University of Delaware. So for head coach Rob Ambrose, I'm Spiro Morekas. Thanks for tuning in to another edition of the Tiger Football Report, and as always, go Tigers.